Salah everybody and welcome back to the channel. As you know, Juan Carlos and myself are great buddies. We've worked together. We've done a lot of collaborations. We've covered events together. A couple of years ago, we started off this nice little trend of doing challenges, phone challenges, and we've actually since then that kind of fruitioned into a live stream that we do together called the Best of Our Week. And one of the things I really like about it is the opportunity for us to challenge each other to explore new hardware and new experiences that we probably haven't had or may have not had an opportunity to actually check out. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you very much to Juan for hanging out with us, coming with us here late on a Saturday to record this. Few technical issues, we're fixing it.
It's our round two. We tried to make this an in-person conversation, and we were surrounded by like weed whackers and edging machinery. We had like a youth group come in and just start watching our live stream. I mean, it was really flattering that they wanted to hear us.
We had an audience. Exactly.
But not the most conducive environment to focusing on this kind of conversation.
Absolutely. And to me, every time we do it live, every time we go to a ballpark for some reason or another, there's always a challenge. So we got to work it out, and I think we should be at some point able to figure it out. But the challenge this time was actually pretty straightforward. We were originally trying to do a challenge of foldable devices or or devices that are considered to be more, content consumption, large format, transforming devices.
Yeah.
They go into either multitasking or experiences. And for me, in my side of the challenge, I was challenging Juan Carlos to experience the Z Fold 3. This is Samsung's latest smartphones, but it also had a feature that enabled you to use an S Pen now, because that's how Samsung is doing it now, and there was no Note in 2021. So that was my challenge to Juan, and Juan had his opportunity to actually challenge. So I'll let you explain your side of the equation.
So our first challenge when we were talking about productivity was Duo 1 versus Note 20. Because we both really wanted to play with productivity and stylus-enabled devices, but now the Fold doesn't have that limitation. The Fold has S Pen support, so it really made sense for us to go Duo 2, a more powerful, better hinge-designed Duo against the Fold that now has proper S Pen support. They felt like this challenge was a bit more on even terms for this idea.
Same style of hardware, pitted against each other.
That's I like to call it. So I mean, because you I think you appreciated Z Flip for what it was as a consumer piece, not a device for you, but it's pretty and it's familiar. I think, and please, correct me if I'm off base here, but I think we're both in line on this idea of folding tablets that turn into awkward phones, right?
Yes.
Because neither really makes for a great phone, but they bring flexibility and function and different ideas on screen real estate versus multitasking.
Absolutely.
So that to me is the fun way of putting it. Like, I know I'm in for an awkward phone, but then I get way more space to play with something else.
Absolutely, and the Z Fold does the exact same thing. It's an awkward shaped, very thin, very cramped display on the front,
but
and
very
then, of course
thick.
You open it up. And then you open it up.
Oh, you already have. So I'm working on two videos on embargo. I've not restored my phones yet. I wanted to do the gimmicky thing like, here, TK, why don't you just take your Fold back? And I pass it through my camera to you, and you pick it up and hold it up in front of the camera. But that would have been maybe a little too cornball.
And it would be our style. It wouldn't be too far off on that one.
I know, we do like cornball.
We absolutely do. But the little bit of a caveat that we did here, which is slightly different this year, is we had a side challenge that was introduced as, it actually wasn't even supposed to be the challenge. It was supposed to be more about, by the way, I know we're doing this challenge, but I'd like for you to check out X device. For that challenge, Juan and I decided to pick actually something that is more photography focused, productivity type style devices. I went with what I thought was one of the better devices on the market, at least in 2021, and I still think it's a contender. And that's the Mi 11 Ultra, or the Xiaomi 11 Ultra, and here it is. Okay, it did focus. Sony is doing. Oh, that's right. I'm recording. That's why. So Sony performs well when we're recording. Yeah, autofocus on point. It has a rear display, the GN1 sensor, very large sensor,
GN2 sensor.
GN2 I'm sorry, GN2. You're right. The
So
GN1 was on
outside of the Sharp Aquos and the Leica, the Mi 11 Ultra has the largest sensor in a production phone across the Android. So I guess we should say it's the second largest sensor in an Android phone behind the Sharp Aquos. It's a hair bigger than what we're going to find in Pixel 6, in the usable surface area on an Xperia Pro I, and just a hair bigger than the phone that I gave to you, which is the Vivo X70 Pro Plus.
Pro Plus. It's so, and we'll talk a little bit about our expectations and how things were and what we actually got out of it. But the challenge actually turned out to be a very nice one. It was supposed to be for about 30 days.
No, but I mean, like this was the most fun I think we've had in any exchange, aside from our cheap phone challenge where I gave you a phone that fell apart as soon as you took it out of the box. Because that was hilarious, but this was way more practical.
I still have flashbacks to the day where I was peeling. It was a sticker on the back of the phone, right? It wasn't even trying to peel the back.
And the
sticker was so powerful. It peeled the back. And
happier
you could
days.
I'll try to link that in the description below. You guys will see the true reaction of both of our faces. Because first he thought, he saw my look on my face and he's like, and then he looks at the phone and there was like the whole, it's a catastrophe unfolding in front of you.
It was beautiful.
It will go in this memory bank till the day till it's on. Yeah.
It was amazing. It was really
epic.
Moment.
Still trying to top it. But let's go ahead and jump in real quick. I'll probably say this. Maybe we can go into it. Like you talk a little bit about your experience after it. We did go a little bit longer. We typically did the exchanges for about a month or so, but because of CES, travel, and a whole bunch of different things going on, we actually kind of a little bit more, which I think was due. And we got to use them in different situations for different things. How was your experience with? Let's go ahead and start off, I guess, with the Fold. And then
so the folding phones, the primary. So
I think that was People want to know.
In our conversation, we did a face-to-face live stream to exchange the phones, and we had kind of some loose predictions, and I think my predictions were pretty close. Like I say in my Fold 3 video, which a lot of people are acting like this is just the worst possible hater Samsung die in a fire kind of a video, but I genuinely mean what I say. I mean, you have to get past the cheeky thumbnail. And Samsung Knights can't get past a cheeky thumbnail, apparently. But I really do genuinely mean it when I say that what we have here is a brilliant execution of a third-generation public beta. The Fold 3 is in no way, shape, or form, not in price, not in functionality, not in design or execution. There's nothing that we could point to that this is in any way, shape, or form a mainstream consumer gadget. And the Duo 2 is a second-generation public beta and deserves to be categorized in the same way. So what we're looking at is hardware and software stretched to the breaking point. This is the most bleeding edge, pocketable kind of technology that we can utilize today. And I think both companies deserve a metric poop ton of credit for what they've been able to accomplish. But we should not be talking about these things as if they are average consumer mainstream accessible.
No, absolutely not. This is by no means this is something that people will jump into by just walking and say, hey, that looks nice. No, this is something purposely made for a very small niche
and
market.
Tell me, when you show these kinds of gadgets off, like, they drop jaws.
Absolutely.
Like, I remember the first time I handed my cousin my Duo 1, and, like, he's in college, and he's, like, opening it, and you're, like, you're literally watching the brain spin on what is this thing, and what can it do, and why does it do this?
It's exciting. It's a look of excitement on tech that you haven't seen. We've all seen glowing rectangles. The glowing rectangles are literally. This is so the norm now. Anything and everything. It is very few flip phones on the market, and there is more smartphones where it used to be the opposite. But foldable devices, specifically the Duo, it has a very interesting design. And not to say that the Fold doesn't, but the Fold is, by definition, it's a small device, and when it opens up, it doesn't really open up that much wider.
No.
Where the Duo is that whole experience of just being short and then it just opens like a book.
Yeah.
And you have a really good skin. So Juan has a skin on his phone on the Duo
on my
1.
Duo 1. I need to get something on this Duo too, just so it's so glossy.
It absolutely makes it look like a little notebook, and of course with the pen input, absolutely.
So getting into the Fold 3, my predictions were pretty close. You know, especially after watching channels like TechAlter. You know, a number of my criticisms are shared by TechAlter, but Martin decided to keep his Fold just to show off fancy B-roll, and I'm not gonna spend $2,000 on a product that has a few of those conceptual design issues that kind of put me off. And especially for my personal style of use, that's why dual display has been so exciting for me. So I figured I would probably not enjoy the orientation. For me, Fold 3 is immediately you open it and then you rotate it, because that is a more practical landscape
It's a force.
view.
Yeah, you
just
have
do
to.
it. Yeah.
It's an always thing. Yeah, it becomes like a norm, but in reality it's a thing you have to get used to.
For sure.
By default, the orientation is just not the right format.
Well, and it's an okay format just for a little bit more surface area. It kind of doesn't matter, but if I have more screen real estate on desktop monitors, a laptop monitor, on a tablet, or on a phone, my first immediate idea is, can I use more things at the same time? I am even on my regular phones, I'm constantly split screening. I'm almost always have like a video going, or I'm going 2 apps at the same time, which is why the LG and the Microsoft versions of this are so accessible to me. It's because I'm not looking for one single canvas. I'm looking to have chat in a video, play a game and watch a documentary, go through a playlist. The
Duo is perfect for that, yeah.
And the Duo is just immediate for that, whereas there are extra steps involved. And I know Samsung fans are going to say things like, oh, well, you can still do it, or you got to get used to it, or it's fine. But if that's a core use, then a single canvas with the current state that Android is in right now, that's not a core feature of a single slate like that. But I think the thing that kind of surprised me in the negative, for all the people that have talked about how easy it is to just sort of look past the crease, it really did kind of stand out to me in the way that I typically am using it, because it's in landscape. So if you're primarily in portrait and the crease is running vertical, I think it's a little easier to sort of look past that line. But when the disruption is going right through the middle of your apps, and it really is like having 2 curved glass screens, the trench that it creates is almost like you're putting 2 curved glass screens side by side. There is no normal lighting in my house where I wasn't constantly distracted by how...
Crease in them.
Well, because it is. It's like... As I say in my video, if you have a phone in landscape and you're using it for navigation in your car, you lose the top edge, because light will reflect and then the image kind of warps on that curve. You have 2 of those curves of thickness inconsistently moving through plastic right through the middle of your eye line, no matter anywhere you go. And I think it's a little disingenuous when we see the Fold represented in the best possible ways with studio lighting to kind of minimize reflections and to minimize glare, because I don't shoot that way. I don't shoot commercials for these products in my reviews.
No, of course. It's real-world usage.
There was no angle that I could shoot this with my sort of traditional top-down recessed lighting where I wasn't catching some kind of accent, some kind of glare, or even just a visible optical distortion of the content on my screen, which you don't get when you've got 2 apps side by side on separate panels.
Independent, and natively. And I think that's where the Duo surprised me is, well, it's not surprising. It actually met the expectation. It forces you to live in the dual display experience.
Yeah.
Because there's no other format. You can't turn it the other way. And
there's
you have
zero reason to span apps on a Duo. I mean, I genuinely can't. I mean, like, it's a novelty if you take a web browser and you put the Duo in portrait mode and you span it so that you've got one vertical column. That's kind of neat. You're never, it's never really going to be a core use of the Duo, having one app take up both panels because of the gap between the 2 screens. it's just not what it does.
No. That's the thing. The Duo for me, for me, the Duo was also, to a certain aspect, obviously it's a sequel. I've had an opportunity to play with the first Duo, and I saw some of the limitations and some of the concerns that we had at the time it was released, the software concerns and so on. The Duo 2 for me not only showed the improvements that we were expecting, but also focused on what we were missing. So, updated SoC, better camera system, external cameras as opposed to just an internal one. More focus on, the ability of actually getting notifications without having to open the phone. There's a whole bunch of things that were applied there. But I loved the fact that you live in a dual display experience, meaning when you first open it up and you launch an app, it automatically launches it on the right, keeps the left screen as your home screen. So it's already an extra and you're able to multitask. It's like you are automatically multitasking. The Fold for me has, over the years that I've used Folds, because I've used them since the beginning, it has evolved and it is getting better, but the core experience in the inside display is still very much a open and turn, where that hasn't been able to be fixed. And it doesn't force you to two displays or two apps at the same time. You have to launch the side launcher, pop them in, you can launch three things. So I will say this, from a usability for me, I felt like the Duo 2 did a much better job. Multitasking, playing games and watching video is much easier natively supported. Like you start playing a game, it's on one screen, and you launch the second app, it goes to the second screen. There's no where things are. So long story short, at least from my side, it not only met my expectations, but exceeded them. There's a few little hiccups here and there with functionality, with the external sensors that we have on there, because it doesn't fold all the way on the outside, like the first one. But at the end of the day, it was still a pleasure. And you could see that. This is something that the Duo 2, obviously a lot of people commented on it. They wanted better sensors. They wanted sensors on the outside. We got them.
I still can't answer that question in my brain, because to me it's... Because you had my Duo 2, I had your Fold 3, but I still had my Duo 1. And I was so thankful that I had not traded in my Duo 1 to get a better price on my Duo 2. I mean, again, people seem to forget that not just Samsung will do trade-in deals and stuff.
Yep. No, absolutely. Every company would like their customers to upgrade every
tangent.
year. Yeah.
But it's in playing with the Duo 1 form factor opposite the Fold, how radically thin that fully opened single screen experience is, how beautiful like that butterfly full 360-degree hinge operates, and how nothing gets in the way of that. And the more I've kind of danced around them, the more I kind of feel the current implementation of folding tablets, they really aren't content creation devices. Because we had two phones that were some of the best content creation devices that have ever come out, and I would not reach for even though because no one would argue the full camera experience on a Fold 3 absolutely superior to the Duo 2 in terms of pulling something out of your pocket, taking a photo, or shooting some video. I would like to reenact a quick demonstration. You've got your Fold 3 handy, right? So I'm going to say, whoa, look at that amazing thing. We should take a picture of that thing that is happening right in front of us. Ready, go. And now I am ready to take a photograph.
No, absolutely. And it's one thing to keep in mind.
But I'm sorry, just to complete that thought, even for the fact that the Fold 3 is obviously superior to the Duo 2, that's such a low bar, and it wouldn't be the device that I would pick if I was really concerned about artistic creation, photography, family photos. It's still a cumbersome gadget to operate, even though it has that kind of outer screen candy bar form factor. We're still needing to make that a delineated choice. If you care more about camera stuff, you should probably skip foldables for a little while longer yet. If you care about productivity, gaming, and content consumption, then these devices get a lot more interesting.
Oh, absolutely. This is why I felt like the secondary challenge that we were doing, that we inadvertently made it a secondary challenge, which is the exploratory part.
Which
we're like, hey,
kind of took
go
over?
check this out. Which took over no. So for me, the secondary device, so the X70 Pro Plus and the Mi 11 Ultra were, again, intended to be more of, hey, by the way, if you have some time, check this guy out. It's a cool phone to play around and so on. But for me, we did the exchange in the middle of December in 2021. And now, obviously, a few weeks after that, CES was happening. And I ended up going to CES this year. And surprisingly, I decided to take the X70 Pro Plus with me because it was still in that beginning time when I decided to basically, because you need to learn how to use the X70 Pro Plus. It's not like a phone you jump into.
Yeah, it is a punishing phone the very first time you turn on that camera app, for sure.
But it rewards you quite nicely. So landing it in Vegas, using it on a daily, and literally it was basically X70 Pro Plus and an A7 IV in my hands. And every single time, if I didn't really need to set up the camera and take it out and put the tripod and all of that, I was using the X70 Pro Plus, and I was shooting 4K 60 across everything. There was no situation where I wanted to drop down to 1080. No, I wanted the best footage possible. And the phone just is a champ. There's just no way to like in low light, in good lighting, bad lighting, telephoto, and then of course I ended up getting Android 12.
Yeah, so I mean, I was describing some issues that I had with it, and you were like, "Nah, that's not been an issue for me." So it's even gotten the performance has improved on Android 12 for some of the stickier spots that I had. But you mentioned things, like I really don't feel people grasp. We can talk about how thin a Duo is, and people just don't seem to understand that the Duo 1 is the same thickness as the camera bulge on the Mi 11 Ultra. When you say something like, "Hey, the Vivo is really good in low light," we're two people who have played with the best that Apple has to offer, the best that Samsung has to offer. We currently both are rocking Pixel 6 Pros, where Google set the standard for things like night sight computational photography. And for the sensor size advantage, the tensor chip, all of the AI goodness that Google can bring to the table, the Vivo can significantly outpace capture time and image processing in the darkest of conditions. It's something I've never seen before on a phone. So Vivo makes this huge grand claim. We've got this photo coprocessor that drastically speeds up low light photography, and we've heard so many bogus marketing claims from other companies that when you really try it and you see, I'm in like almost blackout conditions, the slider on the phone says 3 seconds, where a pixel would take you like 7, and the image comes out like twice as bright as what a pixel can resolve with more accurate color of what's going on in that environment. It's mind-boggling. It is truly astounding what Vivo has been able to accomplish there.
Absolutely, and that's why I felt like it. Like I said, it took over the challenge. So on this one, maybe, like I said, for me, the experience with the Vivo, it's the first time I've actually used the Vivo. I'll be very frank. I've used other brands from BBK products like Oppo, OnePlus. Those have been mostly what I've been working with, like Realme and some of the other sub-brands as well. But the reality is, I was very pleasantly surprised, and it's almost like I didn't know where to set the bar for it, because I knew it was a great photography phone. I know if you were recommending it, it wouldn't be like, this is not the budget phone challenge that we're doing. We're doing
totally took me by surprise.
Different.
I've been singing Vivo's praises. This is the first one that I've gotten to spend any significant time with, and
I'm glad.
Obviously, I mean, if anyone's followed any of my videos, there's an obvious reverence for phones like Sony's and LG's, and the Vivo absolutely feels like a spiritual successor to that LG funk. Like you pick up an LG and it's not immediately familiar if you've used a Samsung or an iPhone, but then you dig just a little bit deeper and you could see all this genius behind how they made decisions on manual modes, how they controlled audio, what they were doing with HDR as opposed to AI auto processing.
Oh yeah, no, of course.
And the Vivo kind of takes that torch and just runs with it. And again, it will let you fail if you go out there and just like blindly do the tech reviewer. I want to take a poorly composed photograph of a fire hydrant under yellow street lamps. Look at the bad colors. Well, the phone did what you told it to do, and it will let you do that. So to me, it really does. Like when we call things pros, the Vivo X70 Pro and the X70 Pro Plus feel more like photo pros. My Christmas cards this year were shot on the Vivo. The first family portrait we've taken with my new baby nephew. This is like the first time all of my brother, my sister, husband, spouses, my mom and dad, we all got together. We didn't take that family portrait on a nice DSLR or mirrorless camera. We took that photo on the X70 Pro Plus. It was so good. I mean, we've done large format prints of that photo of us all sitting around the dinner table, and it looks amazing. So I really can't sing its praises enough, because it really truly is something a little different. And most of the differences, it's something really good.
How does this translate into, how was your experience with the Mi 11 Ultra? Because again, you came from a phone that you really liked and to a phone that you were very interested in trying. So I'm interested to see how that kind of changed.
I went from a phone that I absolutely adore to a phone that I really, really, really like. But I'm happy to have my Vivo back. But
I'm sad that you have it back. I don't know how to say it otherwise.
It's because again, I need to praise Xiaomi, where the main sensor performance on the Mi 11 Ultra is stunning. The raw files are incredible. The image processing is fantastic. The photographic elements are starting to compete with much, much, much nicer standalone point and shoot cameras. Like, especially as we're getting closer and closer to this 1 inch, this magical 1 inch camera sensor. I was having some flashbacks to the Lumia 1020, because even a year after its launch and some software polish and some refinement, I feel the Mi 11 Ultra still hasn't quite lived up to some of the expectations that we might have had, because Xiaomi's are known for being snappy and brutally quick, and the Mi 11 Ultra, bits of that shutter lag, that processing lag. I've got a couple of samples where I'm trying to take, like rear camera selfies of myself, and I've hit the button, but because it's doing this AI magic processing thing, it can be like a half-second delay where I think it's taken the shot, and I'll go to look at the phone screen, and then I'll end up with a photo of the ground.
Yeah,
and I've got to
move the camera. Yeah.
because I moved, but I had hit the shutter button a good half second before, and I was in bright sunlight. It wasn't like a low light issue, and that also happened a bit in portrait mode. So a few of those little moments, it's like I had to go back to the Lumia 1020 style of anticipating some of that lag before I could get into capturing an image. So to me, it's like, if I wanted to shoot indoor candid photos of my family and friends, the telephoto sensor on the Pixel 6 Pro is my top pick, because I don't have to be right in your face. I can be across the living room, and that telephoto actually does work in lower light conditions. If I want to take some of the best portraiture, I would probably lean towards something. If I wanted to take better action and HDR shots, I would probably lean towards something like the Vivo. And then if I was really like medium format camera style, mostly concerned with setting up the artistic shot and capturing that and having that control over that setup, then the Mi 11 Ultra makes the most sense. My biggest nitpick, one of the reasons why I'm happy, one of the biggest reasons why I'm happy to have the Vivo back, I've been working on this video trying to show like rack focusing, right? Using focus to change the plane in perspective. And obviously I think the premier solution for that is a Sony, but I want something with a slightly bigger image sensor, and I don't have the Pro Eye in-house anymore. And so the Mi 11 Ultra, how amazing is that? I could use this, and it's got such a brilliant sensor, I could show this off really well. And you can't throw that video to an external monitor. No Xiaomi phone has video output. And so I plug in my Vivo, and wouldn't you know it, I have touchscreen, on-screen controls with one of my portable monitors. I've got this beautiful canvas. I can really granularly see the detail of what I'm trying to focus on. It's such a small thing, but like having video out really does elevate the experience to something that's a bit more broadly practical for a photo or video professional.
It works on the Pro title. Yeah, no, this is the Pro Tools.
And I feel like the promises of having that rear display never fully materialized. I want that ability to frame my shot when I'm shooting video. It doesn't work in portrait mode, where you probably also want to frame a shot like that. It's so cute. It's such a good idea. I love dual display in all forms, like the old ZTE, like the Nubia. I want that functionality. And the Xiaomi gets you so tantalizingly close with such a significant photography advantage in that sensor. I mean, it's like you're so close you can taste it, but it's not quite there. And he's like,
and I'm
just
still surprised.
fingertips away.
I'm really hoping that MIUI 13, it's supposed to come out any day in the Q1 at least.
Yeah.
Will bring that in. But it is something that, we had a promise at the beginning when Xiaomi was first announcing this, is the ability of using this display for more than just taking photography. And they did say that it will be coming. There are some limitations. There are some things in there. I still enjoy taking pictures with it. Again, after using it for some time, you get used to the mechanics.
Because you can't say enough nice things about the sensor. That primary sensor is just indomitable. Like if you're talking about IQ, this is again coming from someone I've not shot on the Aquas. I've been trying to get one of those things out of Japan.
I think that was I was going to say that's a Japan only device, and I think it's a carrier version of the phone. I had a buddy that lived in Japan, and it was like we tried talking, and it's not only is it there, but it's also like on a carrier, so it's like
it's double lockdown.
Double lockdown, locked everything. But I think the challenge that we had was balancing the usability of both. For me, I enjoyed the functionalities, I enjoyed the multitasking and the productivity capabilities that the Duo offered me. But I found myself living a little bit more in the X70 Pro Plus because by nature, I'm a creator and I like to have the tools that help me create content and produce it. And that's where I felt like the horsepower of the X70 Pro Plus, the cameras, the microphones were really, really nice. So
surprisingly good, right?
I was very surprised, like not just very surprised on how good they were in situations where I was basically like gunning it, right? I'm jumping in from one meeting to another, and I have just a small amount of time to be able to put together clips to produce content. Like when I was walking away from the Razer booth at CES, I was like, I got to get this thing done, and I got it posted right away so I can move on to the next thing. And I was doing it running. I just sat on the side, put it in, and then I was able to find a quiet area because the West Hall or the South Hall was closed. Whenever we go into the media section, it was a lot quieter than what we typically had in past years. Past years, the hallways would be busy. So I would just sit in the corner and I start recording voiceover on the video, just talking about it. And like I said, for me, the Vivo met and exceeded my expectations. The Duo, I felt like met the expectations I was hoping, I was expecting from it. And it performed just as good and much better than the first Duo. But it was definitely, I felt like I enjoyed more the experience with the Vivo.
Being forced to spend more time with the Duo 1, I'm definitely I think I'm in the same boat with you, where philosophically I've got an issue. The hinges are better, the screens are better, the cameras are better, it's more powerful, the 5G, blah, 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 blah. Every spec on paper, the Duo 2 is a better device than the Duo 1. Absolutely. Having that camera lump takes away some of the form factor that I really appreciate about the Duo 1. And I find myself kind of gravitating more towards the Duo 1 being the better tablet, being the better Surface device, just for not having this lump in your way of this camera bulge. But I also think, kind of like you, we went into this really saying like, hey, I've got a folding phone, you've got a folding phone, let's fold some phones. And I feel like the Xiaomi completely walked away with more of my attention. It's just a profoundly different powerhouse of image and content creation, of video capabilities, of just the IQ. I mean, it's just another tier. And it belongs in the same kinds of conversations as Xperia Pro Eyes, the Vivo X70 Pro Pluses. And I'd imagine that in real practical use in the hands of a good photo or video journalist, it would be right in line with the Sharps and the Leicas too for being such a well-rounded Android device on top of being an incredible collection of
I
cameras.
had an opportunity to play with the Leica phone for about 7 minutes or so while I was at the Qualcomm Tech Summit.
Right.
And it is absolutely a pleasure to try. I would love to be able to spend some time. I see some creators and so on are starting to get some hardware, because these are Japanese devices, by the way. The Leica phone isn't intended for the international market, so getting it out of Japan is also another challenge. So if we kind of have to look at it more of a summarizing type of an experience, I can obviously say that we both enjoyed our experiences in different aspects.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
If we had to and I'll throw this to you with, what are some of the, out of this experiment, what are the things that you think you will remember the most out of it? And maybe one or two of the things, obviously, that you felt like could be better maybe for our next challenge. Because I'm sure this is not going to be the last one we do this.
Oh, no, we're already talking about our next challenge. That's
that last one, a couple
that's
days
an
ago.
obvious tease. So the whole idea of a folding tablet, it's really not prime time. It's really not. And there's such a good crew of geeks who like being way out on the bleeding edge. But since the earliest days of like ZTE, what was it? Axon dual display.
The Axon. I think the Axon M.
Axon M.
I think I have one back there.
Great refinement, great iterations. I mean, these ideas are improving. But I don't think we've crossed that bridge where someone just walking into a carrier store is going to say, hey, that's the right device for me, and it properly can replace the productivity and functionality of a separate phone and tablet enough that it's worth me spending more on a folding phone.
Absolutely.
So I think we've got some ways to go. I think Oppo's idea on this is really going to help challenge, because it feels like Oppo took a Duo and took a Fold 3 and played some Barry White so that those two devices could have some adult time together, and then we arrive at that beautiful idea, kind of combining those two devices. And you see again, in exactly the way that you were holding that, and you've got a lamp that's kind of shining directly at you.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I was trying to.
How much less immediately identifiable the crease is.
The crease, you can see, but it's also going in the different orientation when you're using it.
You can see, how plastic isn't perfectly glass-like. You can see some of those ripples. You do not have the trench that the Fold 3 has. So immediately, anyone who was like, you don't even see the trench, as soon as they fix it, they're going to be like, whoa, isn't it so amazing that Samsung fixed the trench? And all they're going to do is crib Oppo's hinge design. But sorry, I'm digressing. The main takeaways for me, if you've got any good reason to step up, I'm really kind of tired of the smartphone as the most low-level, basic, average device. That conversation, because if you're just taking whatever, like, kind of shaky hand, standing up, looking down at your kids, terrible composed point and shoot sorts of photos, then a $200 phone is probably going to look just like a $1,200 phone. Nothing much is going to change. If you've got any idea or any design on trying to improve or learn new things or do more with your pocket computers, we've got hard divisions now. We've got a Note 22 that's going to be great for like a notepad and a pen. We've got a Fold or a Duo for multitasking or for bigger screen canvas content creation. We are so rich for camera phones that really are amazing cameras right now. And what it means is you want to do more with your device. You have some brilliant options to choose from to accomplish that. I think just on the outside of this, the only thing I would add, as we look to the future and what other things that we might work together on, I feel like the big glaring omission, we've done a cheap phone challenge, we've done productivity phones, we've done camera and content creation phones. We really got to try. And folding phones. So now properly, both of us exchanging folding phones. We really need to try a gaming challenge.
I feel like that's the next frontier,
Right?
or the unexplored frontier in our experience.
Yes.
Because we both have had opportunities to play with gaming phones, many different brands and so on. But I feel like, yeah, I think the gaming phone experience needs to be solidified, and also we need to see how gaming companies are starting to or will be addressing and working with the HN1 as. I mean, so the reality is we're in mid-February now that we're recording the video on the 12th, and the reality is no 888 phone has been officially available on the market. There are obviously some people have access to early hardware that, Samsung's sent out some hardware, but the reality is the phones are not coming out till the end of February.
Yeah.
Other than that, realistically, OnePlus still hasn't come to the US market. They released it in China. So we haven't really started to see how the HN1 is going to be worked with, managed.
But beyond, because, again, you and me, I mean, we can do a whole separate podcast on SoC design and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely.
But
yeah.
I would like to throw that out to your audience. Like, what does a gaming challenge look like? Because I also feel it's not just the phones. I feel like we need to challenge each other to different types of gameplay and different styles of gameplay. And
dude, don't get me on the whole. I was playing Dead Cells for 3 hours today on my PC. I know I could play it on my phone, but I got an MSI PC that I'm going to be reviewing. I installed Dead Cells because I got Game Pass on it. I got into it, and 3 hours disappeared.
Yeah, it's so good, and it's so silly. It's like, it's kind of one of the best and the worst ways to play it. But I might be on my third run of Alien Isolation.
Oh my God! Okay, yeah. I remember we talked about that.
It runs so well on Android. I mean, getting that in the Google Play Store is insane. With all the DLC, it's insane. So, I feel for your audience, as we're kind of trying to wrap this video.
So, question about
the question is not just devices, but what would make sense for a gaming challenge? And you're talking to two guys here who have a very broad interest in many different genres of gameplay. So we can think outside just like, how hot does it get when you run the Genshin Impact? I mean, we can talk about, tower defense games and strategy games and some
first
co-op
FPS, racing,
platformers, roguelites.
Exactly. Yep.
So
even emulators, if you want to throw in some emulator conversations, we can also talk about those as well.
For sure.
Even cloud-based gaming, that's also something that some people are starting to look into. Cloud-based, GeForce or even Stadia. So let us know in the comments what you would feel that combination would be. What you would feel like if it was compared between different devices, those things would matter to you. And I feel like we'll try to fold that into the conversation as part of what we would like to do. But the other thing that I also want to tease, which obviously that future challenge, we're also going to get a chance to play a little bit with, hopefully once I get my Samsung devices. I think last year we did it, and I think I'd love to be able to continue it again, is exchanging some Samsung devices. And I'd love to see how Juan's approach or Juan's ideas are, or have maybe changed, maybe the same as what we saw last year with the S20, as what Samsung's entry edition. Yeah, so to see how the S21, not the S20, I keep forgetting we're already in 2022, and of course the S22 in 2022. So many twos in this number. So that could also be coming up very soon, hopefully, as soon as we start getting hardware. So for me, it was a pleasure. A lot of high notes, very, very little. Like I said, on the Vivo, there's absolutely nothing. There's nothing I could say that makes it that it needs to be improved realistically. If there was one thing, maybe I would say band support, but that's not a flaw to the phone. It works in where it's intended to be released.
I want it here, and it's not coming here.
and it is one of those things. But the Duo 2 for me, seriously, it felt like a comfortable medium to use. It builds on what we had last year. There's still a little bit of hiccups here and there, but software is absolutely much better than what we had. And the design, like I said, it's something that I didn't get a chance to use it with the case, so I don't know if that changes the experience. I know you're putting the case on and you're starting it since you just got it back. So we'll have to see how that goes. But with that being said, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much for challenging me and introducing me to the Vivo.
This was such a happy, to arrive at this place was just such a happy moment of, okay, we're doing the folding phone challenge, but I still think you like it, so I'm just going to kind of sneak you this other phone. And we both did it. So we both ended up with like, this other thing, that's very good. I'm going to play more with the other thing.
Yeah, no. I'm still to this day, every time I get a chance, I'm poking at with Xiaomi and trying to see, is there and will there be a successor? Because I don't know. We've seen Ultras from them before, but the 11 Ultra seriously set a bar that is so up there. Like, it would have to beat it and do better. So hopefully we'll see a Mi 12 or Xiaomi 12 Ultra, since the Mi branding kind of dropped at this point. But I want to say thank you for everybody for watching the show. Again, I wanted to make sure to give you guys a little bit of background into conversation, but as we were trying to do this at the park after our live stream yesterday. Right, that was yesterday.
Yeah.
Timing, whole thing. It's
feels
Saturday
like a
night.
week ago.
It just feels weird. Yeah, I don't know. With everything, hope you guys enjoy this. Let me know again in the comments, what do you think is a good gaming challenge between Juan and I? And we're going to try to see if we can bring in some other creators as well. I mean, we don't have to keep it just between us. Juan has some ideas in there as well. So thank you, Juan, for everything. Thank you for watching the show. Like and subscribe. Juan's information, as usual, Some Gadget Guy, Juan Bagnell on YouTube, and Some Gadget Guy everywhere across the tubes and the internets and the webs and all of that good stuff. It'll be linked in the description below. And I'm going to link you guys to that video with the peel. I'm going to link it specifically to that moment in the video
it's the
where
best.
I peeled the back
oh
of the
my
phone.
God. It is.
And you guys see the reaction on our face.
I need that in a GIF, just in a loop. It's so
every
good.
time you're like, my life is like the peel on the back of the phone. Yeah. So take care, everybody. We'll see you guys in the next show. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bam.